Did the Red Sox rotation completely forget how to throw a baseball? What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Sea Radio. My name is Corbin, and this weekend the Red Sox stumbled quite a bit against the San Diego Padres. They dropped 2 out of 3 games in their series at home at Fenway. This officially puts them at 44-39 on the season, 5 games above 500, 8.5 games out of first place in the division, and they did lose their wild card spot this weekend. They are now just a game and a half back of the 3rd wild card spot behind the Kansas City Royals. And to me, there was one thing that really stood out in this series, and that was the pitching, or really lack thereof. So what we are going to do in today's videos, we're going to break this down. We're going to talk about everything that went wrong for the Red Sox this weekend and how they can right the ship while they still have time. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one. Let's get into it. Obviously, we got to start by talking about the pitching in this series because that was by far and away the standout, and not for very good reason. Of the 3 stars this weekend, Pivetta, Houck, and Josh Winckowski. Winckowski had the best start of all of them because he ended up going 5 innings with no runs on 4 hits while only striking out 1. I've really liked what we've seen so far from Josh Winckowski since coming back up. I think he really went down to AAA with a purpose. He made some right adjustments, and so far, he's looked fantastic at the big league level. It is a very small sample size though, and I will say not a lot of swing and miss from Josh Winckowski, which was the concern initially when they sent him down, was that they wanted him to get more swing and miss. He's not getting that, but he's still been very effective on the mound for the Boston Red Sox in his 2 games back. If he keeps pitching like this, and this is what the Red Sox can expect from Josh Winckowski, 5 innings up to, I don't know, 2 or 3 runs every time out there, this could be someone who cements himself a little bit in this rotation in the back half of 2024. It was really impressive to see what Josh Winckowski did, especially after the first 2 guys got absolutely shelled. And speaking of that, Nick Pivetta got the ball in game 1, and he managed to just go 4 innings, allowing 5 earned runs on 7 hits while striking out 4. He was cruising too. Until that 5th inning, he was absolutely dominating, but in that 5th inning, everything basically fell apart. He talked about it after the game. Both him and Cora said that he just completely lost the feel for his sweeper, which is going to happen, right? That type of stuff is just simply going to happen when you're starting 30 plus games during a regular season. You're not going to be 100% on for every single one of them. So I understand that from Nick, but the problem is that's becoming a bit of a trend. Of his last 4 starts, 3 of them now have been less than 5 innings with 3 or more runs. The Red Sox just simply need more out of him, and maybe not even more in terms of stat line. They just need more innings. This is supposed to be due to the injury to Lucas Giolito, the veteran in your rotation that is able to give you, at the bare minimum, a decent amount of innings every 5 days. And over the course of this month, Nick Pivetta really hasn't been this guy. We need to see Nick step up in a significant way going into the second half of the season. Tanner Houck also had what was very easily his worst start of 2024, what may have been one of the worst starts of his career, because he went 4 1/3 innings. He allowed 7 earned runs on 9 hits. He also gave up 3 home runs, which is 1 more home run than he's given up this entire year. He just looked totally lost out there. Basically from the 2nd inning on, it skyrocketed his ERA to a 2.18 to a 2.67. Honestly, that just goes to show you how good Tanner Houck has been, right? He can have one of the worst starts of his career, and his ERA goes up by a little over a half a run. Pretty impressive stuff from Tanner Houck in terms of the season as a whole. Obviously not very impressive this weekend. I will say, Nick Pivetta, to me, is concerning. Tanner Houck, right now, to me, it's just sort of a write-off. Hey, you went out there, you had absolutely nothing. The Padres had a good game plan against you. You got shelled, whatever, keep moving. You're still a very good pitcher, and this is just sort of a bump in the road, at least for now. My concern with Houck is my concern with the rest of this rotation as well, and that is that he's already passed his career high in innings in the first half of the season, right? He's pitched so far an inning more than he's ever pitched in his entire career, and they still have 80 games left this season. That's not a great sign for me, and the fact that we're starting to see some holes in Tanner Houck does get me a little bit concerned, but again, he's been so dominant this year, it's hard to not just chalk this one up to a bad game. Overall, talking about the rotation as a whole, this has sort of been the trend for the Red Sox over the month of June, which is surprising because of how good they've been this month. We haven't really focused in on what the rotation has been doing as a whole. It's been their worst month of the year so far. They have a 5.02 ERA with a 1.1335 whip, and opponents have a 768 OPS off of them with a 107 OPS plus. The question becomes now, how do you fix it? And the answer, in my opinion, isn't super clear because, again, we talked about it with Tanner Houck. This guy is a dude who's halfway through his season, and he's already at the most innings he's ever pitched in Major League Baseball. It's now on fully uncharted territory for Tanner Houck. Cutter Crawford's only 20 innings away. That's going to be what? Maybe 3 or 4 starts before he's past that as well, with a good chunk of the season left. Josh Winkowski's been solid, but it's a very small sample size. Nick Pivetta has been all over the place this season. Brian Bayo has been off this season in general, right? You're starting to get into a fully unknown territory. Andrew Bailey has been great overall for the Boston Red Sox, but now this is the true test of his job. How do you get these guys through the end of the season successfully? That's going to be a big reason as to whether or not the Red Sox can maintain this level of competition, or whether or not this month is just going to be a bit of a hot streak in a bit of a lull of a season. It's up to him and this pitching staff now to figure out how to make adjustments to continue to be effective over the course of the next 3 months. Now, I don't really know what that solution is. They could end up going with a 6-man rotation at some point this year to try and get these guys some days off. They could really start honing in on maybe incorporating a bit more fastball, see if that eases up on the arm a little bit. I don't know. But what I do know is that if this continues, the Red Sox are going to have a really hard time continuing to be as hot as they were in the month of June, because the offense just simply is not going to be able to score 6-7 runs every single game. So yeah, there's a big concern in my head with where the Red Sox rotation is at right now and where it's going to be by the end of this season. I do still have faith in Andrew Bailey, though, and again, Tanner Houck, I have a lot of faith in him as well. The bullpen, however, was still pretty solid. I mean, Greg Weissert had a pretty bad outing in the first game of this series, but outside of that, they maintain their ability to be one of the most stagnant parts of this team in the best way possible, where they just sort of perform at the same level month in and month out, which I really like. I think having some consistency in your bullpen can do wonders for a team. Kenley Jansen, shout out to him. He has been excellent these last couple of months. I know we had our issues with him at the beginning of the year, but he's really turned it on lately. He had another great outing. Chris Martin, the magnet out there, continues to look a lot better since coming back from the IL. There's good pieces of this Red Sox pitching staff right now. Overall, you're still looking at it and you're saying, hey, they're winning more games than they're losing right now. It's tough to truly complain about what this staff has been doing, but at the same time, too, you could see sort of the cracks in the wall here, right? You're starting to see, okay, what is this going to look like by the end of September? Are these guys going to be able to figure it out, or are these guys going to start to crumble under the pressure? And to me, that's going to be the biggest storyline going forward for the 2024 Red Sox, because if they can maintain, or if they can make these adjustments and figure out a way to continue to be effective, they can still be a really scary baseball team. It's about those adjustments, though, and right now is the prime time to make them. However, it's not just the pitching we have to talk about in this series. We got to talk about the offense as well. But before we get into that, do me a favor, make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Sox almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. It just helps these videos out a ton, and it's the best way you can let me know you're enjoying the content we are putting out. Thank you all very much for taking a second and doing so. Let's talk about the hitting too. Honestly, there really wasn't even a ton of offense to talk about in this series. In all fairness to the offense, it probably takes the wind out of your sails pretty quickly looking up halfway through a game and realizing you need to score an entire touchdown worth of runs to get back into it. So not going to put the full blame on the offense here, but they really did not show up in general. There were 2 really good performances in this series, though. The first one is Rafael Devers, who had 2 home runs in this series. He is on fire right now. I've been saying it all year, but we are starting to see something really special in terms of numbers from Rafael Devers this season. That is now 4 home runs in his last 5 games. He has a career high in OPS plus, OPS, slug, and on base percentage. He has been an absolute monster at the plate, and people really need to start talking about it. And speaking of people talking about someone, Jarren Duran also continues his hot streak. He had a hit in every single game of this series, including 2 home runs. And recently, we're starting to see a bit of a power surge from Jarren Duran, which could make things really interesting in terms of the finality of his numbers by the end of the season. Right now, he has 9 home runs, and we're dead way through the middle of the year. Right now, he's on pace to finish with 18 home runs. There's a real possibility here we see a true 2020 season from Jarren Duran, which is going to make things really interesting because he's on pace to possibly have a 2020 season, also lead the league in triples, and be at the top of the league in doubles. That could make him one of the best players in Major League Baseball by the end of the year. We all know he's been doing incredible things this season, but the numbers are starting to really highlight that. Again, looking at the offense as a whole, those are really the only 2 guys who stood out. Again, it's got to be pretty tough mentally getting in there in the box in the 5th or the 6th inning and realizing, hey, if we don't score 9 runs here, we're probably going to lose this game. And we knew the offense wasn't going to stay the hottest offense in Major League Baseball for the entire year. We knew there were going to be series like this over the course of 162 games where they just can't score enough runs to win baseball games, right? That's just how baseball works. You're going to have bad series over the course of a 162 game season, and this just happened to be one of them. Again, it's a stumble, it's not a fall. However, there is one concerning thing I did want to point out, and that is the fact that the Red Sox were just 1 for 24 with runners in scoring position in this series. That was a big problem for a big majority of the first half so far, and I'm worried that that's going to start rearing its ugly head again, because if it does, again, it's going to make it difficult to win baseball games. But it's hard to make that type of statement. It's hard to say, oh, they are going to struggle with this again after just 3 games of not being able to really get some runs across the plate. So we'll see how that trend continues, or if that becomes a trend over the next couple of weeks. Again, right now, I have faith that this offense will be able to turn it around. Overall, again, like I said, this series to me was terrible. It wasn't a fun series to watch, obviously, but it was a stumble. It wasn't a fall. You still had one of the best months in the entire sport, and you still ended up really sort of finishing the first half of this season above what I would say 99% of people thought you would be at to be halfway through this year. It was just a really crappy series. And again, that's going to happen when you're playing 162 games. You're going to have series that just don't go your way. It just really sucks in terms of the timing of it, with the deadline coming up and you coming out of one of your hottest months in the last couple of years. This really wasn't great timing from the Sox, but it's not the end of the world. The only thing the Red Sox have to do right now is to pick themselves up, dust themselves off, and get themselves back on track. And I do think they are going to be able to do that. I'm just curious as to how long it might take for them to get there. Right now, I think the best thing for them is to go into Miami, get a couple of games there, get that confidence back up, because we talk about it all the time. The confidence with inexperienced teams is going to be absolutely key to this team being successful. Then come back and really start to hit the ground running like you did at the beginning of June. So I'm not overly concerned with this Red Sox team just yet. I'm not panicking over one bad series in a month of really good series, but I am starting to get a little bit concerned, especially with the starting rotation, how the stamina and how the overall performance of that is going to look like in the course of 162 games. But that's just my opinion. So let me know in the comment section down below. What do you think? Are you worried at all about this Red Sox team right now? Do you think this is just sort of a blip in the come up that they've been having? What are your thoughts on the Red Sox getting basically just torched by the San Diego Padres? Let me know all your thoughts on the latest Red Sox series in the comment section down below. As always, if you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor, make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Sox almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. It just helps out a ton, and it would mean a lot to me. Don't forget, again, you can always get these episodes available anywhere you get podcasts if you want to listen on the go. Links to Apple Podcasts and Spotify will be in my description, or you can just head over to your favorite podcasting app and look up Red Seat Radio. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the red seats.